everyone. Welcome to another interaction of our Youth Leadership League series. This is Rumish, the founder president, and today I also have with me our executive director Shola in the panel for the interaction. Our young leader for today is Ms. Kashish Gumber, who is currently pursuing psychology honors from Zakir Hussain College, Delhi University. She is a prominent debater and a reputed person in the MUN circuit, with more than 50 MUNs as a delegate and 90 MUNs as an executive board member. She was also invited to the Global Young Leaders Conference in New York as the Youth Delegate from India. Wow, it's such an honor to be here with you, Dee, today. How's everything going? What's the DU life like?
Honestly, everything is going pretty fine. Though I am busy with my dissertation for my finals. It's pretty occupying, but that's fun, so yeah.
So I'm sure we all have heard about the DU culture, its societies and fests and everything around it. And also there's the perception that once you enter DU and when you graduate, you're a totally different person altogether. So do you believe that if someone does not go to DU for whatever reason, they're missing out on something in their life?
Definitely. I believe that if you're not part of University of Delhi, you're missing out on a lot of things. Delhi University is a very culturally inclusive place, honestly. So now when initially we went to, I come from a COVID batch. So for almost half of my college life, I have not been to college. But when I entered in my second year, I believe, so there I found people who are very different from what I am or what my school friends are. Because when we sit in a school setup, we find people who are from almost similar socio-economic background. So our way and our perception towards a particular thing is very common. But when you go to college, you also have people who come from a lower socio-economic background to somebody who comes from a very high socio-economic background. Now, here you learn to adjust. Also, societies in the college are competitive and also safe spaces that you have. Like, I am president of MUN of my college. And honestly, that's my go-to reason for the college. More than my classes, I enjoy being with my society members. I am more friends with them because in your classroom, you'll find people with diverse interests. But in societies, you find people with common interests. So that helps you grow more because you have people who can talk about the similar interests that you have. So that's the thing.
That's great to hear.
Also, lastly, about the...
Yeah, sure.
Just a small add-on. About the fest, DU is also known for its fest, and this is the fest season going on. We have from January and March. So it's not just about some artists coming from the outside and singing and performing for all of us. We can also see some of the most competitive DU societies performing and competing on these fests. So that is a slightly more fun part of it. So yeah, that's it.
I'd like to add on something here. I guess the diversity that the government college actually offers there is something that shapes you as a person altogether. Because as you said that the socioeconomic background in school is similar, very much similar, because people whom we are studying with are kind of similar to us in that region. That diversity is something that shapes you out. It's absolutely true.
And our theme for this session would be Rising MUN Culture in India, and who would be better than you to provide insights on this? So we'd like you to start by briefing us about the idea behind MUNs.
Right. When we look at the idea behind modern United Nations, although when we break down the term modern United Nations, we can pretty much make out that it's associated with United Nations international relations. But at the end of the day, international laws that are made are to be incorporated in the domestic laws and to be delivered out. So somewhere they cover up issues which people from diverse part of the world are facing, but in sitting in their own countries on a very different tangent than what we are facing in ours. For example, we talk of equality. People facing issues with regards to equality in nations like South Africa are very different from what it is in our country. So it somewhere unites the world for a similar cause, yet do it in their own way, in their own fashion, which suits their particular part. Plus, in MUNs, when we represent different nations, it again gives us an insight on what the similar issue would look like for different people at different places. So again, it adds on to the perspectives that you get. And as an individual, if you really want to shape yourself and achieve the highest order of a being, then in that case, you should be the one who could understand that other person can have a different perspective, other person can have a different opinion on the similar issue that you have. So that is one thing that I believe MUNs would shape anybody.
And like I have also been MUNing for quite a while, and you can see that when you are a delegate there, you have one perception, and when you are representing a country, you have to actually change your perception throughout and look through that eyes of that country from that particular demographic, geographic area, and then you realize that yes, that's why the particular region represents themselves like that. You get that being in someone else's shoes idea as well. So I would like you to tell that how have MUNs impacted and shaped you as an individual? How would you differentiate between the pre-MUN Kashish and the present Kashish?
Right. I have always been somebody who has scored pretty well when I got my emotional intelligence checked. But honestly, with MUNs, the level of emotional intelligence that I had prior to it has increased a great deal. The urge of leadership initiative that comes in is something which is unmatchable. Prior to it, I used to take up initiatives, I used to be in leadership positions. But at that point, if as a leader I would have encountered some issue, I might have been a little hesitant to face issues which are something which is very alien to me. But currently, no matter whatever comes in the real life or in the money bit or in the England college, anywhere, I believe I can do a better crisis management, more calculated and a smart crisis management. That's one thing. Secondly, I can interact with more people with regards to what their individual needs is. For example, there are people whom I know who are absolutely introverts, and it takes them a long while to open up. Then I also have people who are absolutely extroverts. Then I have people who are very capable but are not able to express it. I also have people who are not capable, are willing to learn. So there are different people, and I know how to cater to needs of all of them and how to deal with them in a way that is best suited for them. So how you understand what you as an individual can offer to another individual is something that I've learned in a much better fashion than what it was prior to it. And obviously the knowledge that comes in, the confidence that comes in. I in school was confident, but not to an extent which I am currently. I can go and speak in front of a crowd of 10,000 people or more, whatever it is. I wouldn't be hesitant. And even if I would be, I know that how to show the audience that I'm the most confident person in the room. So that is, I believe, the best thing I could get from modern generations.
That's great that MUNs worked in such favor for you. And hopefully it does for everyone who is money. So the MUN culture has been in our country for quite a while, like around almost 2 decades. But these conferences have come into the mainstream in recent years, especially during COVID-19. So in a way, MUNs became more accessible during this period. So what is your view on pre and post-COVID MUN era? Like what significant changes you could see as an avid member of a circuit?
So basically, prior to COVID, MUs have been there in the country, I believe, since 2010 or 11 something. So it's been more than 12, 13 years of it. But still, even when I was in school, I started MUNing in, I believe, grade 9. And it wasn't that popular. Even to an extent, it was very alien concept. And even schools were not really encouraging for that. Now, in the online setup, firstly, the phone screen time has increased. The mobile phone usage has increased. And people have also started to explore. A lot of people started to do courses. A lot of people started to do different things. So that is why people who have been in the circuit already introduced this concept in an online fashion. Now, when it was offline, firstly, it involved a lot of cost. Secondly, the coverage and the popularity was not that much because at the end of the day, the amount of word that spreads from online medium is, far higher pace than the offline medium. So a lot of people are not even aware of something like an MUN when we were in our place. So by this online platform, firstly, see, this is something which I believe is also a problem that MUNs are very high priced. But it's again not a problem because at the end of the day, it involves that amount of cost. That is there. That 1500, 2K, 1000 is needed to put up an MUN conference from a person. So now, initially, if you ask somebody to invest $2,000 for something that's very alien to them, people would be hesitant. But you ask them to do $300, $400, they would do it for the sake of learning. So this economic factor has been a major reason why I believe the MUN culture is more popular in the country, because a lot of people have tried it in the online fashion in a much cheaper price. So all those who were actually interested in it, did continue it in the offline fashion, and also more people got to know about it. So now one thing which was very popular on social media through these reels, TikToks, whatever used to go on at that point of time is that what will you tell to people when they'll ask you how you have utilized your lockdown period efficiently? This would be a merging interview question. A lot of us were threatened by this that, okay, if they'll ask me in interview, what will I answer? So a lot of people did a lot of new things for that. So that is why maybe MUN was one thing that was very emerging and people found it attractive. Once they started to do it, even young kids started to start their own MUNs and the whole culture emerged that way. So I believe if I have to sum it up, then it's the affordability factor, the introduction of concept in a very nice manner. Now it's no more alien. And then the growing popularity, because more people are into the organizing part of it. There are three which have changed the entire thing.
So as the economic factor is also involved, the transportation is also one thing, because when the online conference is there, you have to travel to that place. So though the concept has become popular now, do you think that that offline transition would again drop down its popularity, or will it remain there? What would be your stand on that?
Right. Even if when we look at the curriculums that are there in the school premises, the curriculums are becoming very globally inclusive these days. So I believe the culture would not drop down because number one, students are more aware of what's going around the world, right? And now even to move ahead in their colleges, they don't have to just simply show their grades in grade 11th and 12th and just mug up the syllabus. They have to crack entrances, and those entrances definitely ask you on your general awareness. So it's something that becomes part and parcel of even our education system, right? So I don't think so it would drop down, because currently also G20 presidency is going on. So MUNs and youth parliaments are being organized under that to promote that, to support, to show the support towards that, not promote that. So I believe it would not drop down, because now, number one, the students have started to enjoy it. Secondly, teachers have also found it as an activity which would lead to holistic development of their students, right? And also they could relate it to their curriculum. And plus there are a lot of private actors that came in. So they would not let the market of this type, if I have to talk very economically.
So as you have mentioned about market and about the fact that even young people are coming up with their own MUNs. So this whole MUN business thing is like confusing for the beginners as well. They don't easily realize which MUN would be potential for them or would really help them in their development, or to realize which ones they should be attending. So how can we deal with this?
See, before I give you out ways to deal with it, I'm just a very hardcore believer of the fact that if you don't let somebody commit a mistake, they would never be able to reach out to the solution in a proper fashion. So even if I mention that how you can segregate between MUNs which are good and which are not good, or which you should go to or not, then again it would not be enough of a knowledge than what you yourself experience. That's one thing. But second, if I have to mention, then in that case, I believe wherever you look for any conference, look for its association. Firstly, is it a private conference or a school associated conference? And if it's a school associated conference, which school is organizing it? Who is the executive board? What is the fee structure? What are they offering? What are the perks? Is something that you can look at. If it's a private conference, then you can check out, do a quick background check. Because what I can find out is most of the private conferences that are emerging in the offline setup now have online backings. They have organized at least one or two online events. So look at their backgrounds And if you can't find backgrounds, it's a new conference, then maybe look at the perks and also talk to people who are involved in the organizing. Because once you talk to them and once you ask them, okay, let's say you are going for a private conference, just call the person whose number has been given, talk to them. The way they deal with you in the first conversation is what will determine how they'll serve you in the conference. That's it.
I feel like the best way would be to just the hit and trial method, because you can never know. Like, even if you give out a list that, okay, do like look out for these red flags or green flags, but even then it could be that your experience may not be great. So it's best to testify yourself and then see yourself, even do you want to go ahead with it or not. So talking about, like, we talked about the MUN, like business and commercialization. So everything has pros and cons, and the same is with the MUN culture. While some of the pros would be building confidence, strengthening public speaking skills, networking, etc., etc., and in this vast sea of pros, there would also be some cons. So, according to you, what would that be, and what can be done to minimize its effect?
Right. When I look at cons, honestly, MUNs are competitive. They are not as easy to ace like a debate competition, because they don't require you to just gain knowledge and speak it out in a speech of 4 minutes. Rather, they would require you to actually understand whatever you'll speak, defend your knowledge, right? So that means a better in-depth understanding of whatever you read. So I believe the cons that are associated with it is firstly wrong guidance. When you're not able to determine where to go, where to delegate, where to participate, you might interact with people who are just there for the sake of business, not for the sake of very essence of why a modern UN is put up, that is to engage in a intellectual communication, right? So that is one thing, that you might interact people who are even in the chair capacity in a leading position, who are not even aware of it, but they are running it for the business sake. That's one. Secondly, I feel a lot of people do not really take defeats very well. And it's not just with MUNs, it's with any competition. And I feel more than preparation of the competition, it's important to prepare yourself for how you deal with defeat if you get in. So more than taking it as an learning experience, people have associated it completely with the perks that you get after you win, be it the cash prizes. Fine. Even honestly speaking, all the experienced people, including me, at least for once, it is embedded in our heads so badly that at least for once we would check out what's the cash prize or what's the perk that our conference is delivering, instead of looking at what's the topic which could, help me gain the most, right? I include myself, so I also have to correct this habit of mine. That is another thing that's associated. Also, I feel that as there are a lot of emerging organizations with regards to model UN private organizations, so there they are often involving not so conventional practices to put up a conference, wherein they have committees which would attract kids. For example, basically committees that would not work on the conventional rules of procedure, committees which would just talk up something very irrelevant to the international diaspora or domestic affairs. And in online setup, I was very supportive of it because everybody was at their home. So these fictional committees was a stress buster maybe for them. But now in the offline setup, when we are going and socializing, and that's already a fun part, then let's just make MUNs relate to the educational and intellectual part of it. So I believe this is one con that is also associated. Apart from that, honestly, everything has cons with regards to your edible perspective towards it. So I cannot cover up all of it for everybody, but I believe these are certain things which all of us commonly face.
I guess one of the most effective pros of MUNing would be the active participation it involves. That when you're also there in the committee, just like you distinguish between the debates and the MUNs, MUN requires you to constantly work on your brain, what the other person is saying. You can't just sit back and be like, okay, now I've done my work, I'll be sitting there. No, you have to have that active participation. And that is something which is really important. It makes it, just like you said, the crisis handling part. That is what you learn from it. So, yeah, that is something. And from our polls, we had asked our audience that follow us on social media right now about what they would like to ask regarding MUNs. And one of the general perceptions that we have found is that people outside the circuit are not very positive about MUNs. Many call it a waste of time and that it adds nothing to your CV or your job prospects. And while these perceptions may not necessarily be true, but according to you, what prospects does MUNing have for an average youth like me?
Right. Honestly, this is one thing that I have personally also encountered, that people tell me that it would not add on to my CV when I go for a job interview, maybe. But trust me on this, the level of add on it makes for you to ace that interview. See, the interview process, you could reach out to interview process on the basis of your CV, but you can only ace the interview on the basis of your intellect and the personality that you hold, or how you, answer those questions. I believe one thing that we learn from MUN is to do effective communication, be it a business related communication, be it interview related communication, be it even a casual communication. We are more analytical in those conversations, and we could touch on the very zenith of it all. Right. So I believe basically, firstly, saying that modern humans can't be added into a job series is something that I am not really supporter of, because I know friends who are working in top MNCs and who have mentioned it. And with that, they've also mentioned description of it, saying that this is a very capacity building, confidence building activity that they're part of. Secondly, maybe even if you feel that it's not important to put it in your CV, then how you look at the interviews, how you ace it. See, at the end of the day, interviews are aced only when you understand the perspective of the interview. You understand what interviewer is asking. Not the best candidates ace the interview. The candidates who could understand what interviewer and the firm demands is that. So that analysis of it, that grasp of it, and understanding a job profile really well and preparing in accordance to it is something that Models UN would help you with, or anybody with.
Also, I believe at the end of the day, everything is not about job prospects and CVs, but it's also about a personal interest and like you genuinely like doing MUNs, and if you can manage it along with the other commitments, then why not go ahead with it? So you are currently interning with a national party. So how does this venture relate with your psychology pursuits, or is there an altogether different approach towards it? And how did it happen?
Right. So when we talk of psychology as a discipline, it's very much regarded, very much related to, behavior or understanding of beings, right? Be it the humans or even animals to an extent. Right. So when I intern at the MLA office that I'm currently interning at of a national party, as you mentioned, so there we get different set of people. I also have to deal with people who are. I remember this case wherein there was a guy from Bhutan who wanted to work in India, and he did not know how he can run a bank account. So my job was to serve that query. So when I worked there, I see, in psychology, at the end of the day, psychology would help anybody understand the human behavior in a better fashion. So I, as an intern, was able to prioritize that this is what this person needs at this moment. Although the process is slightly complicated, but if I would have portrayed it in that fashion to that person, maybe that person would have been very hopeless about how the entire political system works in the country or how the entire administration works in the country. So I have to look at what can be the best alternative that I can give him. And for that, I need to understand his or her behavior. Then I remember that there was a kid who unfortunately lost both of his parents during the pandemic. So we had to search for best government schemes that would be given for that kid and what is the process and everything. And I had to work on it so that that kid gets that scheme. So for that, I had to interact with that kid and understand his background and everything. And if I wouldn't have utilized my knowledge of psychology, wouldn't have done a rapport formation, I believe the subject is very sensitive. So that would have disheartened that kid, and he might have had flashback of the traumas that he had to go through, unfortunately. So I believe psychology is relevant in anything and everything that you do, because that helps you understand the human behavior. And especially when we look at politics, politics is all about, understanding the perception of your fellow beings, and, basically looking at their needs and serving them in a better fashion. So very much relevant, honestly.
As much as I can understand, people generally view certain things from a very conventional manner. They don't understand how it can be integrated in other fields as well. Like psychology definitely serves a purpose in our politics, policy making, because you need to understand how the public is going to perceive it and then coordinate and formulate whatever framework is required. And I guess MUN again would have served as a purpose, because there also you work on those things and then you integrate your psychology with it, and you understand that yes, a human may or may not perceive a certain framework, a certain policy, a certain law in a certain manner. So that was it. And now I'll be proceeding towards the last question. Who is Kashish to you? For MUNers like us, you are one of the best executive board member and a great mentor. So what aspect of your personality do you think is unknown to the people, or you think it is only known to you?
Okay. If I have to answer about what I perceive of myself, I believe in a positive way that I have a very adaptive personality. I react very accurately with regards to what other person needs. I have, since my teenage days, I have been friends with people who are very, very different. I have been friends with people who otherwise would have no friends in the entire school. I have also been friends with the most popular person. I've myself been one of the most popular person in the school, even in the college these days for some reason. Definitely not bad ones. So I believe, for me, I am somebody who's very emotionally intelligent and can adapt to the circumstances very easily. And is often misinterpreted because of this reason, because I act differently with different people. So people are not really able to understand what my motive is behind it, and a lot of times there are a lot of assumptions that are associated with my motives of dealing with somebody in a different fashion than what I would deal with you, for example. Right? So that's it. I guess there is a lot more, but then no more self-praising. So that's it.
I guess today having that level of emotional intelligence is really difficult to find in most individuals, because we all are goal driven and we somehow or the other are careless towards the people around us. And you having that quality of engaging with others is an absolutely beautiful aspect of you. So yes, we'll be ending our discussion here, though we don't want to. It's so fun having talk with you. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You guys conducted a really well structured interview, honestly. Pretty great questions. And at the end, just one thing I would say to people in the circuit or even outside it, that no matter whatever you achieve, no matter where you sit and what pedestal you sit in the society that you create in your eyes, until and unless you're not humble and kind to people, trust me, everything is very temporary. Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.